All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. The State of the Nation conversation is here, and my guests are also with me. Honorable Eddie Okech, Senator for Migori, Honorable Joe Nyutu, Senator for Murang'a, and Willis Etieno, Deputy Party Leader. Safina, we have a lot to talk about. ILOG is calling for the cleanup of the register. MCAs are demanding a 700% pay rise, and there's a Mount Kenya trip coming up for President William Ruto in April. This coming up in just a bit. But also, yesterday, that's last evening, former Prime Minister and ODM leader Raila Odinga had an iftar dinner at Upper Hill, and he reiterated his position on supporting the President, William Ruto, also speaking about those who've been calling him to join their side. Joe Nyutu is one of them. He's here with us. Let's hear what he had to say.
Tuna hakika ya kwamba tutafika pale tunataka kwenda. Ni sababu mimi naambia watu wetu tusimame pamoja, tukae pamoja. Hatua ambayo tumechukua tunayajua. Kunataka kuelekea vile vile tunajua. Kuna wengine ambao wanawaambia sisi tuendelea pande nyingine, hiyo ni mzuri, lakini nasema bwana, jana wewe ulikuwa unasema sisi ni nyang'au. Leo wewe unasema sisi sasa leo tumekuwa malaika. Tumebadilika, tumekutoka nyang'au tulikuwa malaika namna gani? Kwa hivyo sisi wenyewe hatuwezi kudanganywa. Tunajua pale tunataka kwenda. Naambia watu wetu wasimame imara. Nina hakika tutafika. Nina hakika tutafika. Lakini hatutaki unafiki ya mtu ambaye anasema hapo mimi tumeweka mtego. Mtego. Waswahili wasema mtego wa panya ushika waliomo na sio kwemo. Sasa wale ambao waliweka mtego ndio mtego umewashika. Sisi tutaenda pamoja. Ama sivyo? Ama sivyo?
Joe, over the weekend you asked Raila to join former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. And his question now is, what has changed?
Thank you, Trevor. And let me start by saying that I have a lot of respect for Raila Odinga. And I have been consistent in that. And anybody who has or may have ever followed me will tell you, I have never ever insulted Raila Odinga. I know that we enjoy most of the freedoms that we have today from his fights those days. And so, but I want to say that I've watched what the former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga said in the iftar dinner. And I want to say that with all the respect that I have for him, he contradicted himself. He cannot say that when he's told to join Gachagua, that then we are hypocritical and ninyang'au, as to just quote him. Because if then that was going to be the argument, if that was going to be the standard, William Ruto called, nobody ever insulted Raila Odinga more than William Ruto, both when he was deputy president and when he was president in his first year, especially in the first year. He called Raila Odinga a witch doctor. He's the one who even actually made the Raila Odinga to stop using vitendawili, because it is William Ruto who baptized him kitendawili. It is William Ruto that called him all manner of names. In fact, if you ask me, people are making fun and saying that then this government, you know, Raila Odinga was calling William Ruto a thief. William Ruto was calling Raila Odinga a witch. So people are saying this now is a government of a witch and a thief. So Raila Odinga is hypocritical, because if he cannot join Rigathi Gachagua because Rigathi Gachagua yesterday said that he had laid some traps in State House, and so that if Rigathi Gachagua then says he can join him, he is hypocritical. Raila Odinga should not then have joined William Ruto in a government that the most unpopular one, all the governments that we have known. So let him use the standard. If somebody did not believe in you yesterday, if somebody attacked you yesterday, you cannot say, I cannot join this particular person because yesterday he did not believe in me, while you are joining somebody else who has never believed in you for the last more than 10 years and has called you all manner of names. So I think it's important that, we be truthful and we be consistent. If you're not joining anybody who has never, who at one point did not believe in you, you cannot then join another one who has not believed in you for all the years. And so, Trevor, to refer to the incident that I mean Saturday incident that people have talked about in a big way. There was a context. S.K. Macharia, the chairman of this honorable media group, took the Munas on a journey of how he has supported Raila over the years, how he has always wanted Raila to be president, but how he has been frustrated in this all these years. So I was just telling Raila Odinga, whom I have a lot of respect, for whom I have a lot of respect, I want to repeat that, I was telling him, for the sake of this old man who is your friend, for heaven's sake, if you want to be president in 2020, I mean, you cannot be president in 2027 if you support Ruto, because you can only support Ruto to be president in 2027. But Gachagua, Kalonzo, and that particular group can support you. My humble submission to him was, why would you want to play second fiddle when you have an opportunity to be the first? It was simple. And let me also say that Rigathi Gachagua is not desperate for Raila Odinga's support. Can
Rigathi Gachagua team win without the support of Raila Odinga?
Why not? It will.
And can Raila Odinga win without the support of the team? Without Rigathi Gachagua and the rest?
Well, it's possible for anyone to win. But one thing I know, that you cannot win. One side that I know will not win in 2027 is any side where William Ruto will be. So any other side can win. But I can tell you, and no less than Secretary General of ODM has told you here that Raila Odinga, if he joins William Ruto, remember Raila Odinga cannot be a candidate if he's supporting William Ruto. So the thing is, William Ruto will lose even with the support of Raila Odinga. Why? Because this particular election will be determined by Kenyans against William Ruto. So whichever side William Ruto will be, will sink and will lose miserably. That one I can submit.
Eddie, was that the clearest indication yet from Raila Odinga that this support will go all the way to 2027? Because all this time, there's been a clamor that this support is for now, to stabilize the government for now. But is that a confirmation that then this goes beyond 2027?
Trevor, Kenyans like politics too much, and politics in Kenya is very dynamic, and sometimes as somebody who came from corporate, I like keeping myself to corporate principles. So allow me just 1 minute to actually expand on something that my brother Willis had talked about, because Willis had the last say on this SHA problem that I wanted to just frame, because it's a very important conversation. As we want to talk about politics, there are some people who don't have Medicare today, and they must just suffer the same way Bibi Wairimu suffered when she was in hospital, and the government only paid about 23 million in a bill that was 1.6 billion. 23,000, I mean, in a bill that was about 1.3 billion. What I must say, there are two things I wanted to say very quickly because of time. Number one, NHIF was not without scandal. In fact, NHIF had more scandal on claims than any other system that we have right now. And claim was the problem that I was talking about when I shared about the inefficiency in SHA. Number two, about NHIF, was that there was actually a lower population that actually registered in NHIF. If you come to think about it, when SHA was launched in October last year, that month alone, SHA registered about 12.7 million people. After registering 12.5 million people, up until yesterday, SHA had registered 20 million people. Now, you can see the excitement about that registration is bigger than what NHIF had, because NHIF at the time of being revamped had about 6 million people in the register. But the difference is this. There has been a confusion between universal health care and the issue of SHA, because what used to happen is that in NHIF, most people who are getting advantage are people who are contributing. But right now we find that SHA, 20 million people have registered, but then only about 3.9 billion people are contributing, right? 3.9 million people are contributing. And this is the reason why the problem is there. The problem is there because the government has not been clear about two things. Remember, the government came to tell us that this SHA was being brought, number one, to mainstream healthcare financing, which was bedeviling NHIF. Number two, it was to expand access. But number three, which is the most important, which Willie also talked about, it was the issue of dealing with inefficiencies. Because of that serious registration, then the first two are almost getting there. But the last one, inefficiency, is a big problem because you can remember even last week, the current acting CEO, Robert, said that there were scammers who are almost coming 11.9 billion from SHA because of the inefficiency of how the system was rushed. So what must happen here, number one, is that government must be able to articulate which one is the universal healthcare pillar that then goes to the people on normal disease. And that is a primary health care function, which has not been translated into giving to counties. So government should, first of all, articulate the primary health care responsibility of counties and then give counties capacity of dealing with the primary health care issues. Because most of the people who are going to SHA are going to seek medication for level 1, 2, 3, which SHA doesn't cover, yet SHA covers level 4 and above. And that is happening because the national government is not allowing money to go to the counties to deal with the primary issue of healthcare. This is the biggest problem that I see as somebody who's legislating in Parliament, that if solved, SHA might work.
So that seals the SHA conversation. Now let's come back to this.
Now, so on Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, you know, I think that somebody like Ruto is simply snoozing. You know, during those times when you used to be a child and then perhaps you have been caned and there's food on the table, but you still have some cry that you want to do. You're sitting somewhere, you're snoozing, and you also want to eat. This is the problem, because when Raila Amolo Odinga talks about traps in State House, it is not simple trap. It's an ideology that the deputy president came up with, of that State House and any opportunities in the national government only belong to a certain region and a certain group of people in which he classified as shares. This is what Raila Odinga is actually referring to, the idea that the moment election is done in this country, the two principals who end up being a deputy and a president end up giving opportunities, and especially when you think about appointments, one, to cronies who sometimes are not necessarily competent. And that is what we face with the first time of the first months of Ruto's government, where a number of people were awarded opportunities to serve in government, but not on the basis of merit. It was based on of political expediency. That incompetence bedevils a nation, because then it makes it impossible for an executive to perform. But then the biggest problem then becomes, even above that, those opportunities are given to mostly the two people who tend to have come from a certain region. So because of that, the country is not coherent after election. So what then Raila Amolo Odinga brings, which he has proven over time, is the idea that he can be able to bring about conversation about competence, which is where the classical issue of ODM expert has come into the conventional government. And then number two, he can be able to bring about the issue of diversifying opportunities. You remember that when ODM individuals got into government, you can actually see that those individuals are spread across the country. And this is a fundamental issue that we must deal with. So, as per how Raila is working with Ruto, I think that the president and Raila are committed on the issue of dealing with the excesses of issues that we are facing as a country now. Now, to answer your question, they're dealing with those issues now, and among those issues, some of the issues that Gen Zs did raise, the only problem is that when Gen Zs raised them, they were not put on the table, and there was no commitment by the president to be able to deal with them. And Raila Amolo Odinga has forced that conversation to the extent that he has forced the president to actually sign and commit on the 10-point agenda that they shared in the cooperation agreement, that is the marking scheme then of the relationship between Raila Amolo Odinga and the president, so that those issues are dealt with. There are issues of human rights. There are issues of auditing the debt. There are issues of adding money to counties. There are issues of dealing with corruption in government. All these issues, there was no commitment because of those two problems of incompetence and awarding political cronies, which actually the former deputy president proved to be one of the most incompetent people when given that opportunity to serve as a deputy president.
Okay, Willis, as you comment on Raila's iftar message, is Raila Ruto a winning ticket of 2027?
They will lose terribly. That one is very clear. But let me just say this. No, these legacy politicians. These are legacy politicians. They know only one thing, to discuss personalities. Because I've been on this table when Ruto was a very strong defender of William Ruto and anti-Raila. I've been on this table when Eddie was a very strong opponent of William Ruto. Now, they've turned tables. Eddie is the one singing Ruto's praises. Ruto is the one who is attacking Ruto. This is legacy politics. All they know is to create a position for themselves. If there's some little comfort for me, then it works. And that's the difference between legacy politics and Safina politics. Because even if you asked me, Raila pairing up with Ruto, what is the fundamental ideology that brings them together? What are they working towards? What is the overriding issue that informs this engagement? Is it public good or it is politicians good?
There was a whole 10-point agenda.
Yes, so that, but what is underlying? What's the intent? What's the underlying thing that is not even written? What I always say, what is the chi in this agreement? That which, even if it's not written, it is the driving force in the agreement. Because if it was the public good, in my view, the starting point for any conversation between them should have been, yes, mistakes have been made, people have been hurt. You start at that press conference by saying, we are sorry to the people of Kenya who were killed during the Gen Z demonstrations. We are sorry to the people of Kenya who were killed during the 2023 Mandamano. We are sorry for Baby Pendo and those of 2018, 2017. You start by acknowledging that mistakes were done. Atrocities were committed. You apologize. Then you go to the next step and say, in recognition of the pain you've gone through, we are compensating the families. It's not enough, but at least we are recognizing. And so that in future we are creating a system where we'll never forget, we'll never go back to that. Then you say, let's hold accountable those who committed these atrocities. Then now you can discuss seats. But if that public good is not the underlying issue, then it becomes very simple to say, we are going to get seats, give it to our people. And you think once you've given a Turkana, all Turkanas are full. If you've given a lawyer this position, you've given a... It is not about coming up with policies and ideologies that impact all the Kenyan people. Eddie and his political group today, and I call them legacy politicians, today they seem to try to drive a narrative, which is quite unfortunate, that they say we are trying to unite the country. But the undertones of it, and very loudly coming from ODM, they start saying, oh, Mulima is bad. We are trying to isolate Mount Kenya. And you've seen senior leadership in ODM trying to speak what, in my view, is divisive language, trying to say the problem is Mount Kenya, let them get out of government, let us occupy the positions. Then how is that a unity ticket?
No, that's not true.
No, I mean, Kaluma is your member. I've not seen
true.
any senior party member come out to deny what Honorable Kaluma said in regard to Mount Kenya people.
I have.
It's their party. No disciplinary proceedings have been instituted against Kaluma for what he has said about Mount Kenya. How is it a unity ticket? Or are you united the country when you have senior members? This is the speaker's panel for your information. You have senior members who are out speaking divisive language. And we must resist and reject this type of politics.
Okay.
Let's have politics where we are all working towards the public good, the common good of every Kenyan. Not politicians who today manipulate Kenyans, evoke their emotions, they go to war with each other, people die and lose their lives, people lose property, the country is held back. Then at a convenient period, they come together and they speak opposite language. And I speak it both for ODM, Eddie is here, and for Ruto is here, representing now Gachagua caucus. Because if Ruto, who has been with me, I think the longest politician, legacy politician, who has sat with me on this table, is Senator Ruto. And I've been consistent in telling him, I am attacking this regime, I'm criticizing this regime for its failures on policies on the economy. He was defending that. Today, I'm glad that at least Saul has gotten a Damascus moment and turned to Paul. And Ruto, I will not hold it against you for previously supporting this operation. At least your eyes are now open and you can see that which I've always been preaching towards you. At least I can say that for once, my gospel has reached the intended object.
Joe, what has changed? I keep asking you that question and nobody answers it. What really has changed? Because even now, Willie says that you used to defend the government. Is this just about an individual?
Willie is my friend and he's a very good debater.
Yeah.
But I want to tell Willie that if Eddie is a legacy politician, he will confirm. I will not talk for him, but I want to tell Willie that I'm not a legacy politician. What I want to remind Willie is that there are those, I mean, you cannot blame a lady who has started saying that, well, this relationship is abusive and I need to move out of it. You cannot tell that lady, you are the same person that was kissing this guy in church during the wedding. So when I was here defending William Ruto, Willie, for your information, that time he had not started making the relationship abusive. But later, it became very abusive. In fact, it became toxic. And so you cannot tell me, because you are supporting him, then you, by attacking him now, then you are becoming a legacy politician. I mean, things started going south, and that is why, at that time, things were rosy. That's why now that the relationship got toxic, we had to move out. I think I've explained that. And as for Eddie here, you know, Eddie is a very good debater and an intelligent person. The problem is hypocrisy. Because when you tell us here on this TV, Trevor, that you know, Raila Odinga, when you start telling us that the problem that Rigathi Gachagua had was with the William Ruto then, was that they were giving positions to people from one part or some parts of the country, and they were not, you know, looking at the national image, and they were not looking at competence. I want to ask Eddie, what coincidence is there that Raila Amolo Odinga, when he was given an opportunity to offer some 4 cabinet secretaries, that he gave those positions to people who were leaders in his party? Both Joho and Oparanya were deputy party leaders. Honorable Bandi was a chairman of ODM. You know, the CS for Energy, Wandai, was a minority leader. You know, under ODM. I mean, does Eddie want to tell us that the qualification that you get is being in the leadership of ODM? Why were other ODM, if he was going to give these positions to ODM, to ODM party members, then how come that it is just the party leaders? And that is what now Eddie here will tell you is expertise, that ODM donated experts to government. The expertise is in being party leaders. That is what I call hypocrisy, Trevor. When he tells you, Joho is an expert in what? By the way, Joho is an expert in what? I also know, because I went to school, I also know there's a difference between economics and accounting. Badi is an accountant. He's not an economist. So you cannot tell me that Badi is running the ministry so well because he's an expert in matters economy. Badi is an accountant as far as I know. And I think, and you cannot say that, I've heard them say that Badi is doing well, better than Professor Ndungu Juguna. Just look at the track record of Professor Ndungu Juguna. Even internationally. Yeah. So if you tell me that somebody like Bandi, who was working at the University of Nairobi before he joined politics, that he can perform better in economy, in economics than Professor Ndungu Juguna. I mean,
but the National Assembly vetted and approved all this cabinet
yes,
sector.
I'm not
Did
saying
they
that
then
it's not
fail?
qualified. All I'm saying is you cannot tell me that Ndungu Juguna was removed because he was incompetent and replaced by Badi, who now is more competent. I think it's about sharing oppositions that Willis here is talking about. They should give us a break telling us that they donated experts to government. It's about sharing oppositions. And that's the same thing that Honorable Raila Odinga was talking about yesterday. You know, for Ruto, because now Ruto has the goodies, the possessions, courtesy of which now my friend Eddie is now chair, because Ruto has the goodies. He will now be forgiven for having called me a witch, for having said that I have no plan, and for having called me the Lord of Poverty. He will be forgiven because he can offer positions. But for Raila Gachagua, who cannot offer any positions, just because he said that he had laid traps in Parliament, no. That one now is a Nyang'au. But this one now, who has positions?
So why did you want Raila to join Gachagua then?
No, for his own good.
For whose good?
Yes, for his own good.
Who? Gachagua's or Raila?
No. Raila's good. I mean, my position was very clear. Join Gachagua and Kalonzo, you become president. I did not tell him to come and make Gachagua president. And you can play that clip if you have it somewhere. So, for the benefit of Raila Amolo Odinga, whom I love and respect, but who is now becoming hypocritical and, you know, forgiving all the sins of somebody who insulted him all this time because he has good days to offer, and now laying all the blame to somebody who only said that he had laid traps in State House. Okay. So let us stop this hypocrisy. Okay. The other person that I would want to talk about is Kaluma, that Willis has talked about. Yeah. You know, talking about a region, people from
a particular community. So I'd like him to come defend himself.
This is what now Raila Odinga confirmed last evening, that Kaluma has always had his blessings when he has been saying these things that, you know, are only intended to isolate the Mount Kenya.
Okay, Kaluma will defend himself when we get him a chance here in the studio. But are you seeing that sense of hypocrisy that they're talking about?
First of all, you've realized that Trevor, I've been attacked both right, left and center.
You can respond to both
and
of them.
I hope that sometimes I won't even respond to some of this, because I think that, you know, Willis is a TikTok politician who always wants to get some clout-chasing words here and there. And I think that he has also perfected the art of what I would call benefiting from the game of the day. Because there are people who entered politics with a purpose, and there are people who entered politics because it's beneficial to them. Whether it comes in forms of after an election, you go and become a serious legal mind who then forms part of the biggest spending we have in this country, that you benefit from that hemorrhage, or whether it comes from playing the general game that politicians play, which is how can I be strategically in a pawn game that then can allow me to reap as much as possible in playing the politics of the day. Because, Trevor, I think Willis has been in politics longer than me. Number one, when we talk about legacy politicians, legacy is a function of longevity in politics. And in 2013, when I was still in college, Willis was already in our politics. And I remember very well that in that time, the calculus was the people who were in politics at that time wanted to take advantage of the moment and see how do we negotiate for ourselves and for our stomach, to the extent that Mudavadi was being used as a pawn to be able to separate votes of Raila Amolo Odinga at that time, the CORD coalition, if you remember, so that the UDF candidate would allow for Uhuru Kenyatta to win together with President Ruto. So he participated by the fact that he supported Mudavadi. If you remember very well, where
you're here, you'll respond.
You'll respond. Willis actually was inclined towards Mudavadi to the extent that Mudavadi went to the ballot, UDF at that time, and Willis made sure that Mudavadi was to deny a people's movement a chance to be in government. Fast forward, in 2022, Willis was a member of Safina. When I was a member of Safina, go and check on 21st of May, 2020, I think it was 2022, right? When they did the NDC launch of Safina. Who was their chief guest? Together with Jimmy Wanjigi. It was President William Ruto, who was their chief guest at that time. Meaning that Willis participated actively. And I dare say that Willis actually in 2027, he don't even vote his man, Jimanji, because Jimanji was not in the ballot. But I can assure you he voted for Ruto, where he's seated here. So John Ruto and Willis voted for Ruto, the president, and brought president to where he is right now. What am I to do as a young person who has found himself in a place where President Ruto has come with a bunch of people who are not competent enough, and the country must run, to the extent that we almost lost this country in June 2025. The context in which we actually joined hands in trying to calm the nation down is not a context that is just out of oblivion. It is out of a historical element that last year and 2022, 2023, the country was not stable because of the incompetence that they, two of them, supported and brought to law so that the country could not be able to move. So, Trevor, I cannot be able to take responsibility of both Willis and Newto's misjudgment.
Yeah.
Because when they were presented with people who were competent, because they were playing political games in what he's calling now legacy, at least for me, I was vying to be a leader to serve Migori County. When they were playing political games, and then they found themselves in this mess, we are just cleaning the mess because of nationhood. And that nationhood, you can't blame us for it, because the truth is we must go to 2027 with the regime that is there of the day, and because we are paying taxes as Kenyans, Trevor, everybody here is paying taxes. What we must do is that we must get services from the government of the day. And for us to get that services, there has to be some semblance of stability. There has to be some semblance of steady calmness in the country so that the country can work. That does not translate into supporting an individual. That translates into supporting a bigger cause, which is the agenda that has been put in the 10-point agenda that Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga does not means his word when he says that 10-point agenda must be achieved. What is there that Willis or my brother Newto is against? The idea that counties should be able to get 440 billion. That Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga and President Ruto talked about. What is there that Willis and my brother Newto is against when Raila Amolo Odinga and Ruto says that when you go to the National Treasury, you get a different debt stock. When you go to the COB, you get a different debt stock. When you go to Auditor General, you get a different debt stock. When you go to the CBK, you get a different debt stock. Meaning that we do not know what our debt stock is today, and we'll be bedeviled with a debt that is now heading towards 11 trillion. And they are saying this debt must be audited for once and for all, because those debts were taken during other regimes that, up to date, we know that the monies that were taken, for instance, the last term of Uhuru Kenyatta, 500 billion worth of our deficit was taken, and if you track it, you find it to have gone to 1 or 2 regions, and everybody else is paying. Turkana today, if you go, the amount of kilometers of road that is there is about 3 kilometers. If you go to Mandera, it's about 2.5 kilometers. You come to Marsabit, it's about 2 kilometers of worth of roads. And those roads only come with the county and not the debt that they consumed. So they're saying, how can we be able to track where debt was used? And how can we be able to make sure that anybody who's paying debt in the country is actually regularized? They're talking about the issues of compensating Gen Zs, as well as the issues of dealing with human rights violations that has been there, which perhaps maybe President Ruto was not able to rise above, and even when Rigathi Gachagua was there, was not able to rise above. But because there's a figure who is known to have fought for human rights issues in this country, he has forced this thing on pen and paper, on this agenda that we're talking about. What is wrong with those issues? I would rather Willis and my brother Senator Newto go back with me on that agreement and tell me, on this agreement, this and this and this I don't agree with because Kenyans don't deserve it, but this and this and this and this I do agree with. Then we can be able to have a conversation, because we are not supporting an individual. We are supporting a cause that ODM has been known for over 20 years. I don't know what Safina has stood for that Kenyans can be able to talk about in the last 20 years. But I can tell you for what ODM has stood for and reforms that ODM has championed, and I can point to them, including the consider that today Willis and Newto are celebrating that has brought devolution and brought the position that we are seeing in this country, where everybody can participate and get to the national cake.
Willis, now you can respond.
Let me respond. You know, Errol is full of sound and fury, but there's no content in what he's saying. First and foremost, I'll give you a brief background of what I've been up to. It's quite a lie and unfortunate for him to lie on national TV that I was working with Mudava in 2013. In 2013, I was supporting electoral processes in Africa. I was working for an organization called Electoral Institute for Sustainability of Democracy in Africa, AISA, based in South Africa. And I was responsible to assist the AU to conduct election missions across the entire continent, Kenya being one of the countries. So in my participation in 2013 elections was as somebody providing technical support to the AU on elections. I couldn't have supported Mudavadi. Stop lying. Number two, you've called me a TikTok politician. Yes, I'm a TikTok politician. But go here, this TikTok, Eddie Mwok, dancing on TikTok and posting to Kenyans, him living a lavish lifestyle on TikTok. This is a senator elected by the poor people of Migori Godjope. Some of them cannot even access water services. Some of them cannot even access clean hygiene, cannot access sanitation. And Eddie is here choppering himself everywhere on TikTok. And he's here calling me a TikTok politician for speaking the issues affecting the people of Kenya. The same Eddie on his TikTok page, go to Senator Eddie, you'll find his TikTok page, 39,000 followers, has written here, I am skeptical about President William Ruto's lies. The man lies like Ananias himself. Today, William Ruto is the angel, Gabriel. He has forgotten what he was saying about William Ruto himself on his own TikTok page where he claims, I reside. Yes, I reside in TikTok. And in my TikTok, we discuss issues that are very germane to the people of Kenya, and we've never changed our positions like you have. Because what you said on TikTok last year and what you are saying on TikTok this year are totally different. You took a position that William Ruto is a liar. Today, William Ruto is the best for the country. Let's be consistent. Let me go to what you say about I voted for William Ruto. I can never vote for William Ruto. In fact, I am one Kenyan out of few who can
Did
say...
he attend your NDC or not?
You have your time, my
answering your
friend. You have your time.
Yeah.
I am one Kenyan who has the singular honor of having never cast a ballot to William Ruto in any shape or form. And I will never. In August 2022, when these people, Eddie and crew, were lying to Raila Odinga, laying the red carpet for him outside KCC, I was busy preparing an election petition because I was already seeing the challenges of that election, that this election was going to be a mess. It was going to be rigged. I was making noise about Form 2, Book 2 of 2 of the Form 34As. They thought the Book 2 of 2 was going to assist them to steal the elections. I was saying this is wrong. I was preparing a petition.
No, that is
listen to me. Just keep quiet. You had your time.
Respond just like he listened to you.
To an extent that at the time when the election was declared for William Ruto, I was the fourth person to appear in the Supreme Court to file a petition against William Ruto's election. How can you lie here that I voted for William Ruto? Show me that polling station where I appeared to vote for William Ruto. I never, and I have never voted for William Ruto in any shape or form.
Did he join your NDC?
I'm coming to that. Stop shouting. Don't heckle.
I'm not heckling because you're avoiding a very important...
I have written all these points.
You're avoiding a very important question.
Coming to it.
I have written all these points down.
Yes.
Let's go to part of what he says in 2017. In 2017, my primary assignment at that time, I was advising the president of Mozambique on the decentralization commission that they set up. And it is in that midst of that assignment that I was tapped to go and become Raila's campaign manager for 2017 elections. So where else was I supporting again this gentleman? Then let's come to participation in NDC. Jimmy Wanjigi went to ODM National Delegates Congress at Kasarani. And he was met with stones. We don't hold it against ODM. It's not even ODM that threw the stones. It's individuals. We believe that politics is a competition of ideas. It's not a bloodbath. If you invite somebody to your NDC, does not mean you show support. In similar fashion, we were at Martha Karua's party launch. Does not make us supporters of Martha Karua.
So you're not supporting that action?
We are not supporting. We're simply saying we are, at the end of the day, we are all Kenyans and we operate in the same space.
Okay.
And if somebody invites you, because UDA invited our party leader to their NDC, courtesy, you extend invitation. Raila Odinga was invited to our NDC. He chose not to participate, which is his right. We invited Kalonzo Musyoka to our NDC. He didn't attend. It is his right. He was at the engagements. So The fact that you participate in an NDC,
Yeah.
look at the message. Look at what is said in that meeting.
Okay.
At the NDC, when Jimmy Wanjigi attended the UDA NDC, he was very emphatic. He said, I am here as a presidential candidate and I'm not endorsing any candidate. The main thing we should focus on is once Uhuru has gone, so what? The same point he raised at the Martha Karua party launch. Once William Ruto has gone, so what? What next?
Okay.
And we've been consistent in saying the what next is how do we deal with the problem of the economy?
Okay.
It is the economy,
Yeah.
stupid.
All right. Joe,
No, but
then I'll give you.
there's a personal
format to it. You'll get to it. It's Joe first, then I'll come to
Okay,
so that you respond.
okay.
Joe, the president is coming to Mount Kenya.
Yes.
What should he expect?
Thank you, Trevor, but just allow me before I get to that kindly, because Eddie likes talking about incompetence and competence and saying that people are being removed from positions because of incompetence. And I forgot that he accused my boss, Rigathi Gachagua, of incompetence when he was DP, and that should not go uncommented about. This is a matter that the second deputy president has addressed, and he has said that if the president accuses him of incompetence, as he did in Western when he did a visit of that particular region, then he owned up and said that if theft, lies, and all those evil things are what the president would want to call competence, then Rigathi Gachagua agreed that he is not competent. As far as lying to the people of Kenya, stealing from the people of Kenya, and he said about many people, he mentioned names of people that would go to State House then, and he even as deputy president would be locked out as deals were being sealed for hours, and I think that is something that he has addressed. So it was not about incompetence. It was about, incompetence if it was about, demolishing people's residences, and without giving them an alternative, he agreed. Eddie also likes saying, he has said that we almost lost the country in January because of incompetence. I think it's important that we be truthful to ourselves and to Kenyans, and let us agree that the only thing that Eddie and you have heard Willie addressed what he has been saying on TikTok and other things. The only difference that is there now, and why Eddie, what Eddie calls competence, it's about its positions. And it cannot be, if you come to the Senate where we both serve, that only Mount Kenya chairs are incompetent, and that the only replacement they would get is from ODM, which by nature, if you're in ODM, you are competent, according to Eddie. And let us not be hypocritical. Let us say that, let us agree that there is a purge against a particular region, which is where I come from, that if you come from there, then you are guilty and you should be dealt with. And if any bribery, if ODM needs to be bribed in any way, as far as positions are concerned, then you take positions from Mount Kenya alone. Only you take positions from Mount Kenya and give them to ODM to, of course, bribe them, because then if you don't bribe ODM, then you are going to sink because you have no other plan apart from ODM. And I have said many times that William Ruto today, without Raila Amolo Odinga, is minced meat. And so they have to keep bribing ODM through positions. So it's not about competence. It's about bribery with positions taken from Mount Kenya only and given to ODM. They have not been taken from any other place. And let me tell Eddie that we have no problem at all with Raila Amolo Odinga working with William Ruto. It is his choice. Our claim lies with William Ruto, whom we voted for, and who has betrayed us, who is taking our positions and everything and using them to bribe ODM for his support. And I normally like saying, Eddie, if you allow me, that it's important that you maintain your house, keep your wife, keep your children, because when you break your house, lose your wife, lose your child, you lose your children, it is very expensive. It is a very hard task to get, you know, another partner who already has his house, which is what William Ruto is doing. Okay. You can see the expenses and the many stresses and a lot of stress, a lot of, to maintain Raila Amolo Odinga.
But he's coming to Mount Kenya now.
Yes,
what
yes.
should he
Let me
expect?
come now to coming to Mount Kenya. William Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya, is welcome to Mount Kenya because, of course, Mount Kenya is in Kenya, and nobody can block him from visiting any part of Mount Kenya. The only thing that we are saying, those that come from that place, is that as he comes, let him not come and launch other projects. Let him come and tell us the projects which he has launched and relaunched in the past, and tell us how far he has gone with those projects before he launches others. We want him to come with an answer to us why he is targeting us as a region, why he has set on loose attack dogs to call us tribalists when we voted for him overwhelmingly, knowing very well that he did not come from the region. When did we start becoming tribalists? What happened? What did we do to him? So that anytime we point out to something wrong that his government is doing to us, we are called tribalists. I mean, let him tell us why. Why he's doing a purge against people of our region that supported him. Why he cannot be a faithful friend. Why? What happened? The people who supported him in the mountain, he has kicked out all of them, and I can mention names. Rigathi Gachagua, Dinde Nyoro, Mithika Linturi, Moses Kuria, all those people, we want him to tell us, can he really keep a friend? Can he really keep a promise if the people that convinced us against the advice by Uhuru Kenyatta, who came from our region, if he thinks they have no value and he has kicked them out, we want him to come and tell us what we did to him. We want him to come and tell us, because there is a clip that goes around those days when he was saying, nyinyi hamna shida na sisi kama Wakikuyu, lakini inafika mahali unatafuta serikali, halafu unatumia serikali kutatua ile shida. To tell us whether now he's still having a problem with the Kikuyu community, as he said in that clip, and nobody in this country has never seen that clip. We want him to tell us whether he knew all this time as we were voting for him that he was using us to be able to get government, which he was going to use to isolate us, to punish us, and all those things. We want him to tell us why, what we have done to him, what we did to him, that even men of God like Bishop Anthony Muheria, anytime they say something, they are called tribalists.
Will you attend the rallies?
What have we done to him? Those are
will you attend the rallies?
Yes, if he comes to Murang'a in particular,
yes,
I will go there.
Okay.
Trevor, and if I get an opportunity to address the gathering, then of course I'm going to ask him these questions.
Okay.
And we will expect an answer. Of course, he speaks last as president.
Yes.
So of course, if I get an opportunity, I will ask him these questions before the people and tell him to explain to the people, because you cannot con a whole region. You cannot use a region to get power, which then you use to punish the region for no other mistake other than their ethnicity.
All right. Eddie, is ODM being bribed with positions?
No, Trevor, you have to be fair to me. I'm being attacked from 2 points.
That was one of the statements.
So those, and some of them are personal, and what we call character assassination, like what my brother Willis has just done. But I don't blame him.
You started the TikTok war.
Yes, I didn't start the TikTok.
You asked for
it is the truth. You see, but this is the thing. This is the thing.
Yeah.
Number one, let me start with the easier one, which is what Willis has talked about.
Yeah.
I have seen Willis a number of times in Chopper with Jimmy Wanjigi, which I can tell you for a fact that I've taken that on his part and on his side as a means of transport, because he has to get to a number of places that he needs to get to together with Jimmy Wanjigi. I don't have a problem with that. But Willis must also know that before you character assassinate, also try and understand some people. Willis was the leader of NASA, at the secretariat level. That was in 2017. And after that, in 2018, because NASA was with ODM and other parties, the ODM candidate, or rather the ODM senator from Migori, died, called Ben Oluoch-Okello. And God, may his soul rest in peace. And Willis, I just want to, I have to now just educate him about some of the decisions that we make as young people, because perhaps he has never been himself in a ballot. And I went into that election as a more independent, and then it was difficult to register as an independent because I got into that election late. I had passion to serve the people of Migori County. Then I went and got a ticket, a random ticket called the FPK. And I ran an election at that time that it was still new and fresh in the ODM system. That actually party made me independent, and to the extent that I was character assassinated, that it is Ruto who funded me, all those kind of things. Of course, I later on proven that I wasn't being funded by anybody in government or by anybody in the opposition at that time, the NASA coalition. But Trevor is an emotive issue which has made me want to reflect on, because when I got into that election, I think there's nobody who has ever mobilized young people to support him behind a cause. Friends from school, Friends School Kamusinga, from Yale University, from South Africa, who were supporting me in that campaign. I was naive, I was young, but I was passionate about what our country could become. That was the most competitive election that I've ever been in.
Okay.
But it was a life and death election also. Trevor, I have scars. And if Willis wants me to show him, I have scars of 2 machetes. I have got, and you can go online and check on this, I have got 3 times that my cars were shot at. I have got more than 10 times that when we're coming from campaigns in the evening, because of violence, my cars were blocked on the road to the extent that sometimes you'll find a tree, a trunk, right, put on the road when you're being attacked, and it was a life and death situation. I went to my networks. Among the most young people that I studied with, and they are doing very well economically in the private sector. And I told them my campaign is now becoming too dangerous. It's becoming a matter of life and death. Willis, I was poisoned in that election. And it's a matter of fact, you can go and check in the hospital, I was there. Okay? I spent 9 days in hospital in that election. And after I was done all these bad things, it became too dangerous for me to be on the road campaigning. I would have lost my life, Willis.
Okay.
And when I talk to young people who believed in me, and some of them he knows in the private sector, because Willis is my friend, it's not that he doesn't know me. He knows me, he knows some of my friends in the private sector, we have been with him, some of them. They said, the only way you can now be able to avoid these road problems is for you to have a chopper. And they put money, and I appreciate them up to date. And they put money and made sure that for the last leg of my campaign, the 1 month, I campaigned entirely with the chopper. Okay? And I learned from that election that sometimes our politics is a matter of life and death, and there are places that when you go to, you don't need to be on the road sometimes. So it's just a means of transport, Willis, that if somebody puts it on TikTok that because I've seen me with it and then they say flamboyance, you should not assassinate me because of that.
Okay.
Because I've also seen you using a chopper. And in fact, Willis goes to Kisumu all the time using a plane. You know, as well use a bicycle from here to Kisumu because he's trying to play humility card. Okay. That's not how we play humility card. And number 2, Willis, there is no day I have talked about the persona of Ruto in the current arrangement between Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga and the president.
Okay.
What I have insisted on, and he has avoided it deliberately, so because he's a smart mind and he knows what to avoid and what not to avoid, I have insisted that I believe strongly on the 10-point agenda that President Ruto and Raila Amolo Odinga have put together for this country to move forward. We are not in the best place where we want to be. One as ODM and second as a nation. And even as a young person in this country, I don't feel like we're the best place that we want in a political arrangement. But I feel that I am convinced about the pact that the president and Raila Amolo Odinga assigned for the purpose of the country to move forward. Take me to that point agenda and tell me what you don't believe in. The same way Trevor appeared on this particular station at the time that Gen Zs were almost collapsing the country, and we were almost going to a military state. And I told you that I'm convinced that the route we are going of the government collapsing, what will follow is 100 permutations. The military can take over and start fighting among themselves. The military can take over and then become a dictator state under military. Rigiji can take over and then one region and another region start fighting over this thing. The permutations were so many that we could lose a country. So at that time, I believed that the best thing to do for Raila Amolo Odinga was to be able to calm down the country and give us a chance to go to election 2027, that if you don't want the person who has won at that time, you can be able to change it. And that's the principle. So I am not talking about praising Raila Amolo Odinga or praising President Ruto, because if that was the case, even him is supported on Raila Amolo Odinga, and today is disparaging him, and that could actually be seen as a hypocrisy. But I wouldn't call him out on that, because his philosophy might have changed, which is a fact. Now, when I finish on the issue of incompetence, Trevor, what is not true about the fact that in this country, when Lungu took over the office, we had what I call serious procurement gaps because of the fact that our procurement system in government is not actually automated. There is no system about that. Is it not true that John Mbadi has put in place the e-procurement system that is actually under test and is starting properly in July? What is not true to the fact that non-tax revenue in this country was so low during Lungu, and now it has gone up by a whooping 10%. What is not true if I tell you today that our debt stock is being managed better than what used to happen under Njuguna Ndung'u? What is not true if I say that the monetary policy currently, we have gone back to a place whereby we have got 12% rate that is now even allowing facilitation of credit into the economy, despite the fact that we have struggled in our debt management strategy to the extent that we are borrowing more domestically than internationally, and that is coming down. What is not true about the fact that the people who have gotten into government since last year up to now have worked very hard with the president to make sure that our exports are starting to surge, and our imports have actually drastically reduced. Right? We used to see in this country where there's importation of maize, there's importation of sugar, there's importation of a number of things. If you looked at our current account, it was based on importation of everything. What is not true about this thing? The truth is there has been a lot of economic changes that has happened in a very short span of time that can be credited to individuals who have entered government today. And let me tell you, Joe Newton, you guys want to isolate yourselves and want to isolate a region by yourselves for your own political gain. Because it's also not true that the Kikuyu communities is under a purge in government, or the central Kenya communities are under a purge in government, because if you go and do an audit right now, right from the positions in the ministry all the way down, you'll find that at any given ratio, the people of Mount Kenya are more than any people anywhere. Because we have got about 8 ministers right now from the central part of Kenya, right? We have got 2 from coast. We can say 2, 3 from Nyanza. I mean, you can go and look at the numbers of what they are saying, and then you call it a purge. That is actually the biggest sense of hypocrisy. I think that this narrative of a purge on a community is being used conveniently by John Yutu and his tribal lord, Rigathi Gachagua, so that they can reap as much as possible from Mount Kenya. And I want to tell this to the people of the mountain. The Murengo, where we are, believes that Central Kenya is part of Kenya. But it also believes that Coast is part of Kenya. Mandera is part of Kenya. Migori is part of Kenya. The Korean minority are part of Kenya. So that everyone must belong, including Central Kenya, that if somebody keeps on isolating themselves, it is not for the benefit of the region, but it's for the benefit of the individuals who have perfected the idea that if you tribalize politics, then you win by mortgaging your vote into the political market. That must stop.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. We've run out of time. I know. Thank you so much for making time on State of the Nation. That does it. Coming up is Cooking Tips. Thank you for making time.